For the first time since last winter, Dartmouth lets students live in its residence halls. For most of us, though, life on campus isn't the Dartmouth experience that we remember. Students must quarantine upon arrival, socially distance, wear masks, and receive routine testing for the entire term. In this episode of Declassified, we investigate what it means to be a Dartmouth student living during the COVID-19 pandemic. But let's first recap how we got here. Earlier in the year, Dartmouth announced its decision to move classes online for the first half of spring term, and then extended its online learning plan through the whole term. Eventually, the college announced that the summer term would be online too. As it became more and more apparent that the country's attempts to fight COVID-19 were unsuccessful and online learning would still be necessary, Dartmouth released its plan for the upcoming academic year. With only about half of the undergraduate population allowed back in residence halls, students without on-campus privileges have chosen a wide variety of living situations to meet their needs.
Hi, my name is Claire Betzer. I'm a 23 living off campus in 6 South Street Hotel, and it's been really great so far. I'm taking classes and I'm really grateful to be living off campus. So living in 6 South Street is a little bit like living in a dorm. It's kind of like a studio apartment situation. Definitely a little bit isolating if you're living alone.
Even though most 21s aren't living on campus this term, many of them decided to move to the surrounding local area.
It's been really nice to just be in the Upper Valley. I think a lot of fellow seniors have felt that way, even though Dartmouth has made it a little bit difficult to be in and around Hanover. Just being able to go on hikes around Queechy Gorge and stuff like that has definitely made it worthwhile to be here. I don't even have on-campus permission for the term, so I've been allowed to be out and around Dartmouth, but not inside any of the buildings. And it would have been really nice to get a room in the library to study a little bit, or have an interview for a job in the library rather than just sitting in my house with a bunch of other people and telling them to be quiet. I think it's really difficult to just not be able to walk 3 or 4 minutes and see a couple of friends. You kind of have to make more of an effort to make concrete plans, drive 25 minutes, find a park, and socially distance, whereas before it's a lot easier just kind of knock on your friend's door and go and hang out and go to FOCO.
Other students have chosen to live off campus in their Greek spaces while still using their on-campus access to facilities.
I think living in AFE has helped because it's less lonely. There are people who are your friends and sisters around you, which is nice.
Members of the class of 2024 have priority enrollment for the term, meaning that the vast majority of them are dorming on campus. They've had to make this transition to college life in a remote setting.
It's really nice to be up here, this change of environment, and I still feel like I'm in a space that is conducive to my academics, a bit more than my home would be, so I'm glad we're up here. It's much easier that I don't have a reference point, so anything is better than the normal high school life, I'd say. In-person classes aren't really a thing, so my day I just kind of wake up, crawl over to my desk and see 20 faces in a Zoom box and then just keep doing that.
Fortunately though, the 24s have still been able to meet each other and forge new friendships despite the many restrictions.
Honestly, the first 2 days off quarantine, I found that a lot of 24s were just walking up to people and saying hi and introducing themselves because everyone was in the same boat, so no one was really standoffish.
All students living on campus are required to be on the Ivy Flex plan, which gives unlimited swipes and limited DBA for what many consider a hefty price. Some 24s seem okay with the new meal plan.
I would say it's pretty good. I've heard from older people that it's not. Yeah, I honestly don't know how different it would be non-COVID.
Upperclassmen, however, seem to hold a different opinion.
Food situation is tough. I've never been a huge fan of the food to begin with, I think, and I'm mostly vegetarian. I felt I had somewhat limited options given the price I'm paying. I think it's over $200 a week for a fourth of the options we had when I was paying less.
Along with a lack of adequate resources on campus come the various COVID-19 policies designed by the college to keep the Dartmouth community safe and healthy. However, the college's enforcement and communication of these policies has left many students confused and frightened.
I think that the college is communicating the rules well to off-campus students, but I think that there's sort of a gray area for on-campus students. They don't really know what's allowed, and it seems to be sort of unequal enforcement of the rules from SNS, and so I think it's more difficult for an on-campus student to navigate.
members of the class of 24 seem to have felt the difficulties of navigating COVID-19 policies the most. Rumored estimates place the number of students removed from campus due to violations in the hundreds.
They just kind of like disappear, I guess. That's about it. Like pretty quickly too. There's no question or like anything like that. You just kind of get the word and you have to go.
The college has repeatedly declined to provide a number of students who have been removed, commenting only that rumored numbers were, quote, wildly exaggerated. But on-campus students aren't the only ones who have felt the adverse effects of the policies.
So I was sitting on the green, talking to my mom on FaceTime wearing a mask, and I completed the 14-day quarantine, and an SNS officer approached me and he said, you need to leave the green. And I said, I'm sorry, can I ask why? I'm living off campus and I've completed the 14-day quarantine and I've tested negative. And he said, it's school rules, this is college property, and you have to leave. It was kind of a bummer to get kicked off when I wasn't even breaking any rules and just kind of enjoying fall in Hanover.
As the college continues enforcing policies to keep students safe, cases on campus remain relatively stagnant. In fact, since July 1st, there have only been 28 total confirmed cases for students, and as of November 23rd, there are only 8 students with active cases. The question remains, though, how will Dartmouth's safety guidelines and student life on campus evolve in the future?